What is one man capable of? I think this is a very common question that a lot of people ask, and I think one of the best stories to answer this would be the story of Marvin Heemeyer. Who was Marvin Heemeyer? Marvin Heemeyer was also known as the Killdozer, and what he did was, he wasn't very happy about the way things were happening in his life, so he took matters into his own hands and pretty much wreaked havoc on his local town using a modified bulldozer, which was, bulletproof and really impenetrable, and you really could not be stopped because it was so massive. So Marvin bought a piece of land in the 90s, and for some reason or another, he could not get sewer connected to the city. Now, you could get a septic tank, but he could not get sewer connected to the city because they were upselling him, charging high prices. So Marvin was very upset about that. He often complained, paid them visits and stuff like that, and said, it was a violation of his personal rights. So, of course, Marvin here, he opens a muffler repair shop because you don't really need septic to open a muffler repair shop. But anyways, he opens a muffler repair shop, obviously, it's still without a sewer. So he puts a semi truck in his backyard of the land, and then he starts filling his sewer in that. So it's almost acting like a septic tank, but that started filling up. And then he started taking a gasoline pump that was connected to the tank, and he would just put his poop and pee in a river in the back of his yard. So he was just basically illegally dumping crap in his backyard, and obviously you can't really be doing that, so the government wasn't too happy about that, so they kind of stepped in there. Again, he got mad because he was like, oh well, why can't I dump crap out of my backyard with a gasoline pump? Usual government hindrances, I suppose. But anyways, Marvin would only get more mad when the idea of eminent domain come up. If you don't know what that is, go check my video out on it. But pretty much it's where the government says, yeah, you got to give us your land. Technically, it wasn't the government here. It was a concrete plant that was looking to expand, and they were looking to expand. They got a city ordinance for it and stuff. But one side of town was all hotels and stuff, and it just so happened that the other side of town that they were on was Marvin's side, which obviously is not a hotel. It was a muffler repair shop. So they obviously got a city ordinance there, and they were going to buy Marvin out. But Marvin wanted to up the price and stuff. So they initially started 25, and then Marvin went all the way up to 4,500,000. So obviously, he didn't really want to sell that thing. He would then go later on to file a lawsuit, just usual Marvin activities. But he filed a lawsuit, and then eventually selling half of his building. But he actually went to California before the fact and bought a giant bulldozer that he was going to, sell to try to make a little extra money, put a for sale sign on. But then, everything got shut down. He sold all of his inventory, and then the only thing he could sell was the bulldozer. So he took that as a sign from God that he was supposed to use his bulldozer to enact revenge on his enemies. So pretty much he took that little part of the building that he kept, that he didn't sell, and he basically shut himself in there. He did not leave. Obviously he had a house and stuff, but he lived there. He made it an illegal living residence there, where he would just dump his crap in the backyard with a gasoline pump. But so pretty much he just stood there for a year and a half, built this giant tank of a bulldozer. I mean, it was bulletproof. It had cameras on the side. It had a whole entire dashboard up on the console and stuff where you could see inside of it. I mean, he had gun holes where you could shoot out of it. He had food supply to last a week in there when they found him. So obviously, he was planning for a long-term, ordeal here. But so he built this thing. He built the bulldozer, and then obviously, he wasn't too happy about stuff. So what did he do? He went directly to the concrete plant, which he believes screwed him over the most, and then he destroyed that. And then after that, he just kind of went into town, and then he destroyed some of the city hall and stuff like that. But because he also wanted gambling to be legalized in his town, but he tried to start his own newspaper and stuff like that, but that was turned down. A lot of people didn't agree with him on that, but pretty much he was destroying a lot of the town, put a lot of people in danger. He didn't actually ever kill anybody. He came close to it a couple times, But for the most part, you just kind of destroy a couple of buildings, and then he ended up getting stuck in someone's basement when he was going forward, like destroying a building, and he just kind of got stuck, and he ended up killing himself, shooting himself. So what's the lesson of the story? Again, coming back to the idea, what is one man capable of? Well, one man is capable of quite a lot when you really think about it. Because, like I said, this bulldozer, this killdozer, what people call it, was impenetrable. Police officers dumped 200 rounds into the thing, and they couldn't do anything. The only reason that this thing failed was because, it got stuck in a basement, it got immobilized, and really the only person to do that was himself. I mean, technically they put something behind him where he couldn't back up, but pretty much the only way he failed was, himself, lack of thought. Actually, it was so bad they couldn't do anything. They were actually thinking about calling the National Guard and dropping, like an anti-tank missile on him or something like that. So with that being said, what is one man really capable of? They don't like their circumstances. Quite a lot. So, you can build your own tank in a year and a half and then go and destroy half your town. Yeah, I mean, you're capable of quite a lot. So, the next time you think you can't do something, the next time you think, oh, wow, that's a lot to handle. Well, just think about what this guy did. If you don't like your circumstances, if you don't like what's happening to you, maybe don't go to this extent, but, just know, quite literally when people say if you set your mind to it, you can make it happen. I mean, I think this is one of the greatest stories to ever do that. So with that being said, stay safe and stay hydrated.